Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Yasodhanandana Jaya Vrajajana Ranjana Jaya Yasodhanandana Jaya Vrajajana Ranjana Jaya Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanachari Jamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Nitya Gaura Hari Bol Nitya Gaura Hari Bol Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jayam Vishnupada Paramhamsa Parivrajikacharya Stottara Sata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupada Paramhamsa Parivrajikacharya Stottara Sata Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जाय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जाय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जाय। श्री राधा गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधकुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जाय। मधुरा वृंदावन धाम की जाय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जाय। मायापुर धाम की जाय। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जाय। भक्ति देवी की जाय। तुलसी देवी की जाय। यमुना देवी की जाय। गंगामयी की जाय। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Prabhupada Krishna. So nervous. Okay. So we are on. Yes, okay. Right here. We are on Canto 7, Chapter 15, Text 12. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnana-anjana-salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurve Namaha. Om Narayanam Namaskritya Naranjaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, we'll do word by word. Vidharmaha, irreligion. Oh, sorry. Paradharmas, paradharmascha, abhasha, upama, chalaha, adharma, shakaha, panchema, dharmagnya, dharmagno, dharmavat, dharmagno, dharmavat, iyapet, tyajet, I'm sorry, tyajet. Okay, so the word. I got to take a deep breath. I'm so nervous. I don't know. I'm just very nervous today. Like my hands are shaking and But anyway, Krishna's here. He's taking care of everything. So, okay, I got Vidharma paradharmascha abhasha upamachalaha adharma shakaha panchema dharmagno dharmavatyajet. Vidharma paradharmascha abhasha upamachalaha adharma shakaha panchema dharmagno dharmavatyajet. Vidharma paradharmascha abhasha upamachalaha adharma shakaha panchema dharmagno dharmavatyajet. Dharma shakaha panchema dharmagno dharmavatyajet. Vidharma paradharmascha abhasha upamachala adharma shakha panchema dharmagno dharmavatyajet. Vidharma paradharmascha abhasha upamachala adharma shakha panchema dharmagno dharmavatyajet. Vidharma paradharmascha abhasha upamachala adharma shakha panchema dharmagno dharmavatyajet. Vidharma paradharmascha abhasha upamachala Dharmagno dharmavatyajit. Vidharma paradharmascha abhasha upamachalaha adharma shakha panchema dharmagno dharmavatyajit. Anybody online? They must chant. Okay. Vidharmaha. Irreligion. Oh, let me chant my pranam. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshtarane Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Sri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramanandam Madhavam Sri Chaitanyam Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Vidharmaha, irreligion. Paradharmaha, religious principles practiced by others. Cha, and. Abhasaha, pretentious religious principles. Upama, principles that appear religious but are not. Chalaha, a cheating religion. Adharma shakhaha, which are different branches of irreligion. Which are different branches of irreligion. Pancha, 5. Imaha, these. Dharmagnaha, one who is aware of religious principles. Adharmavat, accepting them as irreligious. Tyajet, should give up. Translation. There are 5 branches of irreligion, appropriately known as irreligion, vidharma, religious principles for which one is unfit, paradharma, pretentious religion, abhasha, analogical religion, upadharma, and cheating religion, chaladharma. One who is aware of real religious life must abandon these 5 as irreligious. Purport. Any religious principles opposed to the principle of surrendering to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, are to be considered religious principles of irregularity or cheating, and one who is actually interested in religion must give them up. One should simply follow the instructions of Krishna and surrender unto him. To do this, of course, one needs very good intelligence, which may be awakened after many, many births through good association with devotees and the practice of Krishna consciousness. Everything but the religion recommended by Krishna, sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam saranam vraja, should be given up as irreligious. And we'll do just this verse today. As I was looking at this verse, and I was looking through the verses afterwards, and I was debating whether I should go on talking about the 5 different irreligious stuff, because that's what the other verses talk about. But actually, I got stuck on this one, the first line, right? Any religious principles opposed to the principle of surrendering to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, are to be considered religious principles of irregularity or cheating, and one who is actually interested in religion should give them up. So we've come to this point where we've heard the story of Prahlad, and the question was asked, how does one attain this pure state in which we find Prahlad Maharaj? So with this question, the answer is given, and it's given this through this whole after Bhakta Prahlad story. Then the next chapters that follow talk about the 4 ashramas, the 4 varanas, the 4 ashramas. Then they talk about sannyasi life, grihastha life, brahmachari life. coming to this point. And now we're talking about different types of brahmanas. What are the different classes of brahmanas? So what is the reason for doing this? So I was wondering, this line reminded me of a verse that first line in the purport. And the verse that reminded me was, and as I've said before, it's for me, it's very important to make connections. In the Bhagavatam, like I don't like to see the verses as independent, but what does it go back to? What does it, what does it strike in my mind? What does it bring to my mind? What connections can I make? So the verse that came to my mind was this one. This is from the first canto, second chapter. It's called Divinity and Divine Service. So vai pumsam paro dharmo yatav bhakti radokshaje aheituki apritihata yayatma suprasidati. So translation says, the supreme occupation or dharma for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. So, and the question that was asked by the sages in Naimisharanya, one of the questions was, what is that activity? What is the highest dharma for every living entity? So this was the answer to that question. So we see in the Bhagavatam, almost like in the Bhagavad Gita, where in the second chapter, Krishna kind of gives the synopsis of what he's going to talk about lightly, but then he expands on it as he goes through. Even in the Bhagavatam, we kind of see that. I feel that this divinity divine service, it talks about Bhakti Yoga and Krishna consciousness. But as we go on in the Bhagavatam, it's explained much more eloquently and much more deeply by giving us examples of people's lives, devotees' lives. So that was the thing. Now in this purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about pravrutti marga, nivrutti marga. So two different ways of approaching the Lord. Now this pravrutti marga, which is about this, which is more of material enjoyment and gradual progress. So this whole varnashrama is that pravrutti marga. It's that process that is set up by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in order for us to gradually progress through these varnas and ashramas and eventually get to devotional service, Krishna consciousness. And that's what the ultimate goal of this process is. Now, nivrutti marg is more of the renunciation. It's a much quicker way. And it's really interesting because for me, I always think about, like when I was preparing for this class and I was trying to figure out what to talk about. And it answered a question because I always had this confusion between pravrutti marga and nivrutti marga, those two. And I also had this Bhagavat Vidhi and this Pancharatrika Vidhi. How does that all kind of fit together? And so what I kind of pieced together, and I welcome Prabhu Dravida Prabhu, I'm on the wrong track, please correct me, but in this nivrutti marg, which is this process of dovetailing everything with Krishna, now that can be mixed with karma jnana and bhakti, sort of jnana mishra bhakti, karma mishra bhakti, so bhakti that is mixed. But you still have this desire to serve Krishna, so you do understand that Krishna is the ultimate goal. And many of the processes that are given in the Vedic scriptures are that type, devoted people who are devoted, those who meditate upon the Paramatma within the heart, those who are interested in Brahma Jnana, the Brahma Jyoti, and all that. And then there's Bhakti Yoga. Now, Srila Prabhupada explains something really I thought was like a wow moment for me. It was wonderful. Because he talks about this nivrutti marg, but he almost, he like makes it even more clear. He purifies it. He just, makes it into a nutshell. And he talks about Bhagavata Vidhi, which is our Vaidhi Bhakti, which we talk about, this practice of devotional service through rules and regulations, which is the Bhagavata Vidhi. And then he also talks about Pancharatrika Vidhi. Now, so Bhagavata Vidhi, what Srila Prabhupada explains, is that is the process of understanding Krishna by reading the Bhagavatam, reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, the scriptures. And that this Pancharatrika Vidhi is the deity worship. So it's important that we have these two different branches of this devotional service that we practice in Krishna consciousness. It's deity worship and it's Bhagavata Vidhi. Bhagavata Vidhi includes not just reading Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, the stories of Krishna, but also preaching. And that's what makes this process much more powerful than that just plain nivrutti marga, just when you're just practicing with jnana. Because we understand through bhakti that jnana and vairagyam, right, jnana and knowledge and renunciation come automatically. So you don't have to try for those. So this process of Bhagavata Vidhi and Pancharatrika Vidhi go together because they support each other. Because we do have deity worship. Deity worship has been going on for generations, for ages and ages. And even if I recall as a child, in the temples, not only is there deity worship going on, but there's also saptahas going. There's also reading of the Bhagavatam. I mean, that's part of the process to understand. So you understand both those things. But now a lot of times in these days, that's lost. People just mainly go to the temple, see the Lord, for whatever reason, take what they want, do their duty. But they drop something in the box, they give their donation. But there's not that cultivation of knowledge or this reading of the Bhagavatam. Why is that important? Why do you think reading the Bhagavatam is important? I'll give you a hint. So what is our process? What are we trying to do in Krishna consciousness? Yes, thank you, Ramapati. Develop love for Krishna. Well, if you don't know who Krishna is, how are you going to develop love? I mean, that's the ultimate goal, right? The ultimate goal is not even deity worship. The ultimate goal is not just even listening, to Bhagavatam. I mean, those add, of course, as it says in the 10th canto, the 4 seed verses of the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. Yes, the one that they, Ramate. I'm looking for they enjoy the talking. This one that they enjoy, that's one, Majjita, Madgata, Prana, Bodhiyantas, Parasaram. Yes, Drishtyanti Tarmajja. So they enjoy talking about it. So it's not that we don't continue talking about the pastimes, but it's done with love. See, that's the underpinning thing in this whole process is the love in the relationship. And I just love the way Srila Prabhupada, he just lays it on the line. I mean, he's very, very clear. And as I was looking through, thank God for Google, because I looked up Nivrutti Marg, right? And there's so many lectures, and over and over again, and so many times in the 4th canto and the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada over and over again reiterates that this Bhagavata Vidhi of this Pancharatrika is this both together, the deity worship along with the reading and the preaching is so important because we need to create that love. And so, like, one of the things that I as a teacher do for my Sunday school kids is, yes, we teach them the rituals, yes, we teach them the verses, but what's going to give them staying power is the relationship they have with Giridhari. Because they come here, and I can attest to that because, yes, I know the verses, yes, I read the philosophy, but Do you think that sticks with me? No. I mean, just like I was explaining, I didn't even remember the seed verses. I remember a verse here and a verse there. But I remember that relationship that I was able to cultivate with Krishna, when I had a problem, when I didn't have a problem, just that sweetness. And that's what we want to cultivate. And Srila Prabhupada has given it to us so very perfectly with both of them together. The other thing, the other connection was, and he says that Sravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam is the Bhagavata Vidhi, which is the listening about Krishna and preaching and remembering him, right? And then he said, Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atmanivedanam is the Pancharatrika Vidhi. And I was like, wow. I mean, I'm telling you, when these things happen and the connections happen, and I ask my kids, and this is a question that I ask each one of you to ask yourself. How do I see Krishna in my life? How does he come? How does he appear? And it can be so many different ways. And for me, as I was looking through this verse, and there was just a little purport, and I was thinking, should I go on? But that it clicked that verse, so Vaipumsa Paro Dharmo, read the purport. It talked about Nivrutti Vidhi, Pravrutti Vidhi. It clicked for me, hey, I wanted to know more about this, started reading about that, made these connections, explained that whole process of how Bhagavata Vidhi and Pancharadhika Vidhi go together. And then it harks back to Sravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Pada Sevanam Arjanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atmanivedanam. Who said that verse? Prahlad Maharaj. Again, see the connection? Do you see that? And we're in that chapter. We just talked about Prahlad Maharaj. And he is the example, because who is he preaching this to? He's telling all of his classmates, all of us. So, I mean, everything is in a nutshell. I mean, Srila Prabhupada has given us so much knowledge in like one verse, right? So many connections. So the way I saw Krishna in my life this week was that verse. Because it answered three questions for me. What is this pravrutti marga? What is the nivrutti marga? How does that go together? What's pancharatrika vidhi? What is this bhagavata vidhi? How do they go together? What does that have to do with Krishna consciousness? All those questions were answered by one verse. How do I see Krishna in my life? This is how I see Krishna in my life. Yes, so Vaipum Samparodhan. Well, this verse triggered it. So the verse that I was given, something has to trigger it, right? Something has to trigger it. So this verse triggered the question. The purport, the first line of the purport that said that anything, right, any religious principle opposed to the principle of straying to the lotus feet of the Lord, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, are to be considered religious principles of irregularity or cheating, and one who is actually interested in religion must give them up. One should simply follow the instructions of Krishna and surrender unto him. And so that dharma idea of giving up, so that triggered that verse for me. And then when I read the purport, all those other things came up. So as I, as I said, I'm a kind of more of a practical. How do I, as a gruhastha? So all this stuff talks about brahmacharis and all this stuff, and dedicate your life, and so the question asked is, how do I, as a gruhastha, how do I practice that Bhagavata Vidhi? The Pancharatrika Vidhi. Okay, well, Pancharatrika Vidhi is very easy in the sense that it's given to us. When my parents had this discussion with Srila Prabhupada, and that was one of the questions my parents had asked, and my mom was very upset. She didn't like being here. And so I think I've shared before, Srila Prabhupada asked them, do deity worship at home. So, and he said, set up the altar. So as Grihastas, we have our deities, and he says Radha Krishna, Laxmi Narayana, or Ram Sita, he explains any of those Vishnu Tattvas. We worship them. And he even explains that actually when we do this Pancharatrika Vidhi, oh my God, there's so much about this, but even when we do Pancharatrika Vidhi, or this deity worship process, we worship them with the mood of Laxmi Narayana, of awe and reverence. Because our eventual hope, the eventual goal, which will come automatically. It's not that we strive it. We put it up there and say that's what I'm going to achieve. No, it's a gradual process. That if we do this Pancharatrika Vidhi and this Bhagavata Vidhi, that eventually we'll come to that Ragatmika, thank you, Prabhu. Ragatmika Bhakti, right? Ragatmika Bhakti, which is that transcendental love that's just done with complete freedom. We're not at that stage. It'll happen when it happens. Srila Prabhupada explains the gradual process. So we worship in the mood of Laxmi Narayana with great awe and reverence. So that's one aspect. And the other thing so deity worship, so that's what we do. So what are we as householders, I said speaking for householders, or, women, or people who don't live in the temple, even if you not be a householder, how do we have this Bhagavata Vidhi? So one thing is important, and Srila Prabhupada explains right here, that it says that to do this, of course, one needs very good intelligence, which may be awakened after many births through good association with devotees and the practice of Krishna consciousness. So it's important, this association of devotees is very, very important for us to cultivate that taste. So Srila Prabhupada gives this example. If you want to get drunk, you want to learn how to drink, you hang out with drunkards, right? So, we want to drink bhakti, so let's hang out with the bhakti drinkers, right? So that's what we need to do. We need to associate with devotees. And then, and again, Srila Prabhupada gave that instruction. See, even this, I was telling Ramapati how I was reminded of my father, my mother, and Guru Maharaj during Kirtan. And this is why, because these are instructions that Srila Prabhupada gave my parents. So again, connection. So I really press this point to all the devotees, that see Krishna in your life, make those connections, because then it makes the Bhagavatam live for you. It makes it real for you. It doesn't make it just a book. It makes it Krishna. So, and as I said, Srila Prabhupada told my father, cook prasadam, distribute it to your people you work with, and so this is what we do. If we're going to work, then, they have Thanksgivings coming up and everybody does potlucks. So you make some take some maha cookies, or you make prasadam and you take it to your potluck and share, and everybody gets prasadam. So everybody can do this. You don't have to be a devotee in the temple. Everybody has this opportunity. Isn't that exciting? That's what makes Krishna consciousness and this process so relevant and so special. Okay, and again, talking about the association, and it's along with association, the other part that we need to remember is to be very careful with our association with devotees. Guru Maharaj is always talking about the mad elephant offense. So, causing any kind of harm, either through our words or our thoughts or our deeds, to devotees. Now the question we may be asked, well, is it only devotees? And I ask, well, do you know who's not a devotee or who is a devotee? So Vaiseshika Prabhu says they're all, unripe mangoes? So everybody's a potential devotee, or everybody is naturally a devotee. They've just forgotten it. So actually, please don't commit offense to anybody, because we don't have any idea who is a devotee, who is not a devotee. And also, what's also very, very important is that we do not want to be the cause of nipping in the bud. They're just growing, just sprouting devotion, right? So that's the other thing that's important. So I think I went over all my points. That was 8:30, right? Yes. Okay, so let me just make sure that I did everything. So anyway, and I'm gonna put out a quick advertisement, because on I hope I don't get in trouble, but Sunday the 15th, the kids are going to be doing something for Gita Jayanti for 6 o'clock. So please be there, because for me, even that play kind of just falls right into all of this. So to see part 2 of my realization. It's a Sunday. Yeah, I'm going to do it in here. So, and I'm very excited. I'm so excited. I can't tell you how excited I am. Just hope it all comes together. But anyway, so any questions, any comments? This is why I, as I was telling Prabhu a couple weeks ago, the reason I like to do class is more for me than for anything else, because it makes me study. It makes me strike these little connections, and it makes it exciting. So that's so thank you very much. Any questions or comments or corrections, Prabhu?
Yeah, I'm just...
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. So this is an important verse, obviously, for us to recognize upadharmas and all of the different things, and not let that creep into our...
Yes.
But I'm just recalling how, Srila Prabhupada was so oftentimes ecumenical, I mean, when he met with several priests,
Mm-hmm.
we would always stress the thing, thou shalt not kill, and all of that, But he would also say, this famous, I remember when I was working on BTG, and it was so enlivening, Christ and Krishna, the name is the same, that whole thing,
Yes, yeah.
All right, you chant your name that you have, as long as it's a real name of God,
Yes.
But here it seems it's so absolute, the last line is here, hey, everything but the principle of religion recommended by Krishna Sarvadharma Mame comes should be given up as irreligion. So there's kind of, is this like the more orthodox? It's like, these are going to be read, it's already in the 7th canto, these will be devotees reading this. I'm just wondering how we integrate some of these ideas into, Prabhupada's trying to draw everyone in.
So your question is, how do we reconcile Sarvadharma Pratyagya with the idea of these other religions? Is that
basically, yeah.
Well, I think you can see it as 2 ways. One is, we've read through the Bhagavatam already. This is, of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, it's also there. He's reiterating, and he reiterates it a couple of times, right? And I think it's for devotees too. But there's also the one where Yamaraj says that, Dharma su sakshat bhagavat pranitam, right? And then also Srila Prabhupada talks about in the 1st canto when he's talking about. I think it's the one where Maharaj Parikshit and Kali are having that conversation, the personification of Kali Yuga are having that conversation. And Srila Prabhupada specifically writes in the purport there that any religion that teaches love of God is a valid religion. So that's how I reconcile. And so the thing is, whatever's going to get you to the destination, that's the thing. And like I said, it is for everybody. Srila Prabhupada says, chant the name of the Lord. If you are attracted to the Lord of Jesus, name of Jesus Christ or whatever, Allah or whatever, then that's it. Also, though, see, we're talking about cheating religion, and of course he goes more into this in the following verses with what these each one mean, and that's a class in itself, so I didn't want to go there. But But as a practicing whatever, Christian, then we need to follow it completely, right, and purely. We can't take what we want and, get rid of what we don't want. Or, "Oh, that's too hard, I'm not going to do it." I'm just like in Krishna consciousness. I'm just going to do Pancharatrika Vidhi. I'm not going to do Bhagavata Vidhi. Well, it may get you there eventually, maybe, but it's going to be much harder, right? Because you don't have that, because ultimately you want to develop love. And to develop love, you need to know the person, know who he is, right? So, of course, and even in the other religions, you can take it piecemeal. Will they progress? Yes, somewhat. They will progress because they are following something, but it's going to be slow and hard going. Is my answer. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, what comes to mind. This is I worked on BTG for several years back in the 70s and 80s, and Rabindra Swarup was, always one of the highlights. His articles were so nice, and he recounted once when he was the president of Philadelphia. He was invited to speak at a seminary there in Philadelphia. And he went there and he spoke, and they were very respectful, the novices, whatever you call them. And, they had good questions and everything because they're serious. They're living in the monastery kind of seminary. So then there was kind of an informal meeting that he had afterward, and he spoke about, and he wrote about that also. And what he asked them, he said, "Well, what do you do when you're not, seriously studying the Bible and doing the official things, So, we watch TV, we do this and that, and one of them said, "Oh, if you could just, have a girlfriend for like one day, something." And he realized, and at that point, he said he became angry. He became angry that here's these serious people, they're looking for God, they've made a commitment, but they're not being given the process or the knowledge by which they can, and I always go back to this word, sublimate these other desires into love of God, love of Krishna. And if you don't have, I remember in Harinam one time, we used to go down Friday nights, for years and years. And at one point, there were some serious Christians down there, maybe because we were there. They even had a little marching band that they brought out. We got the music too. But they were handing out these little pamphlets, as they do, which we, do as the rest of our pleasure to. And there was, so I took one, because I was curious. And then later on, I opened it up. And there was a point where I don't recall any figures there, but there may be some simple drawings of they had come into the presence of God, and there was an illustration of God, but it was like just a big mountain without any personality, and that's the fallacy of these other religions, is that exactly how are you going to open up your love for God if you don't get details? What does he look like? What is his personality? You know what I mean? So that's where, as you said, where the Bhagavatam comes in, and where other literatures following Bhagavatam come in, is that they give you more and more details. You see the deities are all attractive, but then if you know of Krishna's personality, and you also know from the Krishna book and everything, then it makes it possible to really become attached to the person.
Yeah, and you experience him in your life. I mean, it's not just there and that was in the olden days that happened, or that Prahlad Maharaj, that was a long time. If we see him every day in our life with just the littlest things. I mean, just simple things like, "Oh, I wish I had such and such." My daughter said to me, I remember too, my daughter said to me, "Oh my God, Amma, I was just thinking," and as I was walking home from school, I was just thinking, "Man, I wish I had some grapes." And then she walks in, and I had offered grapes that morning, and she said, "And look this is what you offered this morning." And she was saying, she was a kid, as a child, she was like, "Oh my God, Krishna heard me." Now, so kids are so special because they see him so much more easily and quickly than we do. They see them all. That's why I love working with the kids. They are so, they just give you that. Oh, like you're right, Other thing I wanted to say about when you were saying about that, that love has to be created because that's the natural tendency of the soul. That's it. So anything else you do, unless you really feed that love, everything's going to fall flat. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. And,
Krishna, thank you for the class. Please tell us how to take advantage of association with devotees. Even like you mentioned that potential devotees, not that those who not yet devotees.
Well, in the Nectar of Instruction, it gives that, right? Dadati pratigruhnati, guhyam akyati pruchyati, bhongte bhojete chaiva, shadvidhi priti lakshanam, right? So the 6 exchanges are, what we do. We share, what does I say? But share confidences, right? Give and receive gifts, and share prasadam. So, right, those are the way we get association. Invite devotees over for get-togethers. We women like to get together and read together. So yeah, that kind of association, chat together. And what's really important is sharing realizations together. That is, to me, I think that is the most beneficial, both for the listener and the speaker. I mean, that's what the Srimad Bhagavatam is, right? I mean, that's, and it says right in the beginning that both the speaker, the person who questions, the person who answers, and the people that are listening, all of them benefit. Right? So yeah, sharing realizations, I think for me is really, really, because we do share prasadam and stuff, but sometimes we don't share realizations as quickly and as easily as we share prasadam, or give prasadam, receive prasadam. Yeah. Dhanawari.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Phanesvari. Nice class. My question is, when you mentioned that we can connect in Grihastha life, how do we connect in daily life, and how we can, like, reading is there and everything, but how can we connect practically? Would you talk a little bit more about some more examples when you mentioned that we should connect?
Besides deity worship, you mean?
Yeah.
I think one thing is always remembering that what you're given, your home, your car, your family, your kids, are all gifts from Krishna. I think a lot of times what happens is, as parents, and I can attest to this fact also, that we think they're our children and we try to make them in our image. And so it's really important to understand that they are also individual souls that are here for a purpose, and that we have, Krishna's plan is perfect. There's a reason that we go through what we go through in life, and there's a reason we are connected to certain family members as a part of that life. There's some runam, or some debt. It explains in the Bhagavatam that there's debts, either a debt owed to the parents, or the kid has, either you owe the money or something. There's all these different examples that are given about how, the children are born to us. But what's most important to understand is that they are also soul on that progress. So kids will remind you, relating with kids and raising kids will very quickly remind you about Krishna, okay? Many times. Any kind of relationship you have with your family members, everything, it will remind you of Krishna, because, there'll be times when you're like, oh my God, Krishna, what am I doing? Or, oh my God, Krishna, what is he doing? You know what I mean? So, or if you're at work, oh Krishna, why am I in this position? What am I supposed to learn from this? So if we can ask those questions, we'll remember Krishna more often. We will. Believe me.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
To mind.
Yes.
In part of the class. This is in the Nava-yogendras in the beginning of the 11th canto, 11.3.30. It's a great verse. Parasparanukathanam pavanam bhagavad yashaha mito ratir, mitas tushtir, nivritir, mito atmanaha. One should learn how to associate with the devotees of the Lord by gathering with them to chant the glories of the Lord. This process is most purifying. As devotees thus develop their loving friendship, they feel mutual happiness and satisfaction. And by thus encouraging one another, they are able to give up material sense gratification, which is the cause of all suffering. And then it goes on, and then there's a line in here that's very famous. Smadantak smarayantyascha mito gaugaharam harim bhaktya sanjataya bhaktya vibrat utpulikam tanum. The devotees of the Lord constantly discuss the glories of the Lord. Thus they constantly remember the Lord and remind one another of His qualities and pastimes. In this way, by their devotion to the principles of Bhakti Yoga, the devotees please the personality of Godhead, who takes away from them everything inauspicious. Being purified of all impediments, the devotees awaken to pure love of Godhead, and thus even within this world, their spiritualized bodies exhibit symptoms of transcendental ecstasy, such as standing of the bodily hairs on end. And if you really, anyway, by reading this verse, the hairs on my face stood up a little bit.
See, that's what I'm saying, connections.
Yeah.
The quick connections that happen. Thank you for that, because then it, gave weight to what I said. Thank you.
Smarantak smarayantas, remembering and helping others to remember.
See, that's that, sharing those realizations, yes. Thank you. Hare Krishna. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. All glory to Srimad Bhagavatam. Oh, yes.